everything about the way Liam Lawson has handled this, everything, the way that he handled the demotion, the way that he's handled sort of like the questions about when he was still in the Red Bull seat, there is a part of me that thinks he's going to be better for this because he does have the talent, he does have the ability, and what he's going to learn from this is going to take him places. And I think, like, you know how like you sometimes you have to have people who manufacture chips on their shoulders. He doesn't have to manufacture.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
that
they've
is
just given him a really big one. Yeah.
right, exactly. And I'm of the impression, like, give him time and he's going to
Yeah.
have that time now, and then look out.
I think you have to hope that he has the resiliency to be able to come back from this, because this is, for a young guy, a career defining moment, in my opinion. Like, this can either derail your career before it's even really begun because he's so young, or, to your point, Nicole, you come back stronger, you're able to learn from this, you're able to build from this, and somehow make it through on the other side and have an incredible Formula One long career. But to put him in this position, I think, is an unbelievably difficult position to be in at his age. And I hope that he's able to rebound from this, because not many people can. You have to have such strong mental fortitude to be able to do that, Laz.
No, absolutely. And we've got to remember is that he's 13 races into his Formula One career.
No.
So 11 races going into the season. He's added 2 more this year.
Baby.
And to expect, yeah, exactly. To expect someone, it feels like he's been around longer because he's had those across 2 seasons already. But yeah, to expect someone to be on it immediately in that scenario is asking a lot. And the problem I have here is not so much the decision they've made now. I actually think it's the right decision. It's that it wasn't made last year.
Yes.
And that belief that,
right.
I mean, I guess they thought they were going to solve a lot of the issues with the car. Had they done that successfully, then, you know, you would have had a car that's easier to drive and perhaps Lawson would have been able to shine. But they haven't addressed those issues. So that's fundamentally the problem here. It's not Lawson's performance so much, although clearly he was, you know, in at the deep end and unable to cope with it. But it's just that they've built this car that is peak performance, actually pretty good. But you need to be able to drive like Max Verstappen to access that performance, and to not kind of round it off or not know how to round off those sharp edges and make it a more drivable car for any driver is a major failing of the team. They're aware of that. You know, Pierre Vacher, who's the technical director there now, has been saying this for a little while now. Even after Perez's bad season in 23, he was saying, you know, one of the biggest issues with our team, we've just won both world championships. One of the biggest issues with our team, so we haven't created a car that both drivers can maximize the potential of. And that's what they tried to do going into 24, and it just got worse. And each year it's just got worse. But then the other side to it is that if you do have a driver like Max Verstappen who is able to take that peak performance and access it and win world championships with it, do you then stop developing in that way and make the whole car a little bit slower to allow the second driver to come in? That's the issue they've got into, but definitely a failing of the team and not of Lawson.
Yes,
it's
you
not
do.
fair to...
Because what happens if Max Verstappen walks out the door? Sorry, Katie.
No, it's just not fair to expect a second driver to be able to tame the car the way that Max Verstappen does, because he's a generational talent. Not everybody can do that. Only one
Lack
person
of self-awareness
in the world.
Lack of self-awareness.
And a bigger question on all this as well. I saw a meme, I think it was this morning. It just said, it's always sack Sergio Perez, sack Daniel Ricciardo, sack Liam Lawson. It's never sack Christian Horner. And what's interesting about this is, you know, what Red Bull is saying behind the scenes is kind of like, well, look, this was a decision between Horner and Marco and the shareholders. This is like a litany of mistakes that have been made over and over and over again. And you're like, who bears the responsibility for this? Because, yeah, I think Laurence is completely right. You know, the problems here have been there for a while. And if you know your car is difficult to handle, don't give it to a rookie for the big important season. So that's where I think this weekend. I'm not saying Christian Horner should get sacked, by the way, just as people get excited about all of that. But usually teams have some kind of accountability up at the top. You know, this decision was made by X, Y, Z. And I think that's what's so confusing about this to me is that lack of self-awareness you talk about, Nicole, it's definitely there, but it's also like, well, is anyone actually going to turn around and say, yeah, we made a mistake here? Because at the moment, Red Bull hasn't said that.